Now this morning, we're learning 3 U.S. fighter jets have been accidentally shot down in the operation against Iran. All 6 crew members are alive and in stable condition. Officials say it happened when Kuwaiti air defenses accidentally struck the F-15E Strike Eagles on Sunday during combat involving Iranian aircraft, ballistic missiles, and drones. They say the service members were able to eject themselves from their aircrafts. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke earlier this morning about the loss of U.S. service members so far in this conflict.
A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America.
The latest service member died from injuries sustained in Iran's initial attacks. And at least 555 people are dead total from the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. Attacks have targeted 131 cities across the country, according to a statement by the Iranian Red Crescent Society. This comes after the U.S. and Israel attacked Iranian military and government sites. Iran then responded with missile and drone strikes. President Donald Trump says the new leaders of Iran have indicated they want to talk, but Trump didn't elaborate on any plans for future negotiations. President Trump also told ABC News that U.S. attacks could last 4 to 5 weeks. Now, new this morning, Iran has formed an interim leadership council following the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the former supreme leader. The interim council will include the Iranian president, the head of the judiciary, and a representative of the Guardian Council. The Iranian president said that the armed forces of the Islamic Republic are, quote, powerfully crushing the enemy's bases. The Israel Defense Forces say the majority of the highest-ranking military officials of the Iranian security leadership were killed. New this morning, flights and airports across the nation are canceled and closed after the U.S.-Israel attacks on Iran. The closures have stranded thousands of travelers around the world. Airlines that are crossing the Middle East will now have to reroute flights around the conflict, with many flights taking a detour south over Saudi Arabia. Also, Pope Leo XIV voiced his concerns over the ongoing bombings. In a series of posts on X, he asked for the attacks to end, begging, quote, all the parties involved to assume the moral responsibility of halting the spiral of violence. The Pope pleaded for diplomacy, while adding that stability and peace can only come from reasonable, sincere, and responsible dialogue. Now, several Illinois representatives are condemning the recent strikes. Representative Eric Sorensen says without a plan to protect our national security, the actions put our military at risk. Senator Dick Durbin added, although there is bipartisan support for stopping Iran from developing its nuclear weapons, there's been no agreement on starting another war there. And as for Iowan politicians, reactions are split. Governor Kim Reynolds said she is, quote, praying for our Iowa National Guard soldiers and all American military forces serving in the Middle East as the United States executes this mission. State Senator Zach Walz called for Congress to act, saying in part, quote, my generation grew up witnessing and experiencing the horrors of the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, and we are all still living with the consequences here at home. We cannot repeat those mistakes in Iran. And in response to these strikes, anti-regime demonstrators, as well as Iranians, gathered in New York City's Times Square to celebrate.
There's a lot of jubilation, a lot of excitement about the news that came out. I think it was late last night of the confirmation that the supreme leader of Iran was killed in the strikes that took place by Israel and the United States. The excitement is really rooted in the fact that this presents an opportunity and a window and maybe a narrow chance for change so that the people can really rise up in Iran and take their government back, as President Trump said.
Anti-war protesters also filled Times Square on Saturday. Protesters could be seen holding signs and banners that said, stop the war in Iran, Trump must go, and other anti-war messages. They also chanted slogans condemning the conflict.